Well, hello everyone. This is Christoph Eisinger, and happy to talk today about data security investigations. And specifically, this is a timely time to have this AMA because we just reached our general availability last month in January, and hopefully you get a ton of questions for us, and hopefully we'll answer all your questions since this is the goal of this is an AMA. Now we've got a set of other peers from the Microsoft team that will also help answer some of those questions. You know, we got Daniel, Tanner, Ed, Katerina, and more. And sorry, those names get look a little funny. I put directly in the slide the actual link to DSI in your favorite portal that is Purview. So you can already start we speak and answer your questions, starts experiencing DSI. So a couple things before we go into AMA, we want to, again, ground all of you of what is DSI, why do you need the solutions, and more importantly, what are some of those powerful scenarios that we've delivered with GA. So with that, let me first go over a couple slides, and then I'll hand it off to my peers to give you a quick demo, and then we'll answer all your questions. So definitely, like I said, exciting times to be here on this AMA. Basically, think of DSI as a new solutions within the existing Purview ecosystem to help you do deep content analysis at AI speeds. And pretty much like every solution, there's three key value propositions that DSI delivers. The first one is to help you identify a corpus of potential risky data, and we'll talk more about that. The second one is once we identify a data that you need to analyze, there's that analysis pillar where you will iterate very quickly to find those needles in the haystacks. What are those data security risks contained in that data set? And last but not least, it's one thing to find the risk, it's the other to mitigate. And that's the third pillar of DSI. And we'll give you more screens as my peers give you a high-level demo. Now, the first question typically we get with new solutions in the Purview ecosystem is, how does that fit within the existing ecosystem? And basically think of data security investigation augmenting our data security offering. And that's what this slide is supposed to portray. This augments, solutions that have been around for a long time, such as MIP, Microsoft Information Protections, data loss prevention, insider risk management, and DSI is in the bottom right corner. So that's how DSI, and you'll see how DSI plays with some of those solutions already today. Now, the next question typically I get is, again, what are some of the customer case studies? We started with DSI back in public preview in April of last year. And like I say, we just reached GA. And again, we've been working closely with key customers. So this is Toyota is one of those customers that we actually co-presented with us at Ignite last November in San Francisco. And the thing I want to call out is, in their use case, what they call out as DSI as the value was the speed of helping get to the bottom of finding that those needles, whatever the risk they were looking for. And actually, the recording is public, so definitely on YouTube. If you haven't seen this testimony from Dan, or if you want to see more demos of DSI, definitely recommend watching the recording of that video. Other things that we heard from customers is, what's interesting with this space is initially we started from a data breach and, let's help customers analyze whatever get breached. Is it a SharePoint site? Is it a OneDrive? Is it a mailbox? It doesn't matter. But one key things we learned during public preview is, guess what? A lot of our customers, out of the hundreds of customers that have been in public preview, they're actually using it to look at what we call insider risk. So that means employees doing bad things. Is it bribery? Is it fraud? Is it Christoph exfiltrating data outside of the my company tenants? So maybe I can take it to my competitor, you name it. And that's some of the use cases that we've seen DSI help get to the bottom of it. Because one thing that's common to all those use cases, at one point, you're going to be asked, whether you're in a CISO or security organizations at your company, or whether you're helping customers, is here's 1,000 documents, here's 1 million documents. Hey, you need to figure out, did this person talk about this? Did this person share password? Did this person share tokens? Anything that's called a data security risk is top of mind, and that's what DSI helps you tackle. Now, before, hopefully you get the high level of what DSI, why DSI, and how it complements, but enough talking. From there on, I'm going to pass the mic to my colleague Tanner, and then he'll pass the mic to Daniel to show you in a couple screens what DSI is. Before they go past the mic again, because this is an AMA, we're going to just show hero screenshots. This is not meant to be an end-to-end demo. Like I say, we have videos and more, but definitely if you have questions, reach out, and we provided a link at the bottom of the slide so you can reach out if you get additional questions. So with that, no more talking from Christoph. Tanner, off to you.
Yep. Hey everybody, my name is Tanner Uzel and I'm a product manager on DSI with Christoph here. So to start off, I'll go over some of our onboarding improvements and then how we've kind of expanded our investigation surface. If we go to the next slide here. So as you may or may not know, DSI is entirely a pay-as-you-go solution, meaning no licenses or entitlements are required to use the solution. You only will pay for what you use. And during our preview, we learned that a very common pain point for our customers was actually estimating these costs in this pay-as-you-go solution. So we recently released an in-product cost estimator. To get here, you navigate to the DSI overview page, which we're looking at right now, and click the estimate cost either on the top of the page or in the card at the bottom. Next slide. And this pops out our cost estimation drawer. So here you can put in the amount of data you think you might be investigating and some guesses on how many AI processes you will use, our vector search, categorization, and examinations, which Daniel will get into later. You click calculate and you are estimated a cost for your investigation. So now we can move into services to actually start your investigation. Next slide, here you go. So after you've finished onboarding and estimating your cost, you move into the core workflow of DSI that Christoph went over earlier, right? The three main pillars of identifying your data, investigating that data and uncovering risks, and then mitigating those risks. During public preview, we focused in the identify workflow specifically on reactive scenarios. So since this past summer, you can create investigations from insider risk management cases and Defender XDR incidents. However, as of a few weeks ago, we actually rolled out a brand new proactive scenario, allowing you to identify, investigate, and mitigate security risk before an incident even occurs. DSI customers can now proactively investigate exfiltrated data using the new Data Security Posture Management Purview solution. Next slide. Oh, next slide, yep. So to do this, I'll navigate to the DSPM or Data Security Posture Management page and scroll down to the Prevent Exfiltration to Risky Destination Objectives. If I click on Objectives, I'm then brought to the exfiltration drill down page. Here, I will see a trend of exfiltrated data in my tenant and some metrics on how my policies are performing to track and stop this exfiltration. If I scroll down a little bit more from here, I see the exfiltration risk patterns card. And in the top left, I see our DSI card, which gives some high-level insights into all of the data that has been exfiltrated from my tenant in the past 30 days. So these are some insights into the size of the data, the locations this exfiltration is coming from, and the file types. If I want to investigate this data, I can click Create Investigation here and give my investigation a name, a description, and input some context about what I'm looking for that DSI's AI features will use later to optimize in its AI analysis. When I'm done here, I will click Create Investigation. So now I've jumped over to the actual data security investigation solution, and I see that my search query is now built based off of all of the recently exfiltrated data in my organization. If I want to take a closer look at this data before investigating, I can click Review Estimates and get a glimpse of how many items that I will investigate. So here I can see, again, the total matches, the size and scope of the data. And if I want to, if this looks too big, too small, not enough, I could go back to the search page and revise the query. But everything looks good to me here, so I'll go ahead and click Add to Scope, and I'll pass it off to my colleague Daniel to go over what happens next.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanner. Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Cosero, and I am a product manager on the DSI team. And I'll be going over the AI-powered deep content analysis and the mitigation portion built all into DSI. Next slide. After we've added all relevant data from the IRM incident to DSI, we can quickly start utilizing the AI-powered magic. Immediately, I can ask DSI in natural language to give me a summary of what to look at and guide me on what I should do next. In this case, go back a slide. In this case, DSI was able to identify secrets and credentials stored in some of this content. This saves me hours of time manually reviewing these documents and understanding each and every one of these pieces of content. With this summary, I can download the full analysis to share with others on my team or reference later. Next slide. In addition to the AI-powered search, I can also utilize semantic search, where I can provide natural language input, and it will return contextual results as well as a score of relevance to each match of my search. As you can see in the output, DSI is well equipped to handle multi-language as well as co-pilot interactions. After searching to see if anything in the dataset has to do with my secret project Obsidian, I noticed there looks to be a concerning document titled Secrets and Passwords. Next slide. Because the Sentinel graph is built directly into DSI, I'm able to see not only the content of the document, but also the activities surrounding the document, such as who opened it, when, where it was sent to, and much more. In the data lake, we're able to grab the M365 activity, Entra audit logs, and even throw in threat intelligence to help you better understand the severity of the activity. Now I might need to follow up with some of these users to understand what is exactly happening in this scenario and if their accounts may have been breached. Next slide. Another AI tool built into DSI is the categorization feature. DSI has 13 preset categories to choose from out of the box, but if none of these suit your specific needs, DSI can also supply AI suggested ones based on your previous searches and what DSI understands and what you're looking for. If there is still a case where neither of these sets of categories suit your needs, you can also create your own custom categories. Next slide. After DSI finishes organizing my dataset based on the categories I've selected, I can now see a nice visual of the categories with the most matched items and view the quick AI provided summary of the content found within each category. Additionally, DSI also generates topics based on the content match within each category and to further organize and isolate possible areas of concern. I found some content here that I want to deep dive into and make sure that there aren't any other secrets, and I don't have time to read all 14 of these documents and messages. Thankfully, I have the power of AI to examine these documents all within DSI. I'll select the examine button in the command bar, and once the job completes, I am presented with a very detailed view of DSI's deep content analysis results. I can quickly identify one of these documents did in fact contain credentials and the type of credential listed and the evidence surrounding that credential. And most importantly, on the next slide, you'll see that the thought process of why DSI believes that this is truly a credential or a secret and what I should do about it. For now, I clearly determined there are some items in here that are pretty risky to my organization and that might need to get mitigated quickly. Due to the nature of these secrets and credentials, the first thing I want to do is stop the bleeding and take these pieces of content down before anyone else can access them. Within DSI, we have introduced a purge mitigation action. Without leaving the solution, I can edit my search query to include only these items that I've identified as a risk and permanently delete them from storage, while also respecting my current retention and litigation hold policies to finish my workflow all the way to final mitigation. Next slide. But we haven't stopped here. We've also heard from customers the demand of full transparency of cost and usage in DSI. We quickly turned around and we've recently released the usage dashboard. In this usage dashboard, you'll be able to monitor your AI compute as well as your storage usage for each investigation to help me and my organization stay cost conscious, and for my leadership team to understand how this amazing AI-powered product is being utilized. Next slide. Now that was a very quick overview of all the greatness that we've had within this product, and we are excited to see how all of you start using it. And of course, we'd love to hear any and all of your feedback. Please feel free to use these links to get started with DSI, learn more about DSI's capabilities, and provide any feedback or questions that you might have after the conclusion of this AMA. And of course, you came to this AMA to get your questions answered. So without further ado, I'll hand it back off to Christoph to kick off the questions part of this AMA.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Tanner. Again, hopefully you get a whirlwind of DSI. I know we went super fast, and I'm sure you wish you could see a live demos. But again, this is an AMA. This is not just a one-way street demo. So again, now is your time to ask questions about what you saw. And again, there's no silly questions, no bad questions. I know this is brand new. This is coming out of the Redmond kitchen, so you must have a lot of questions. Now is the time. And there's the link, there's a banner where you can post your questions. So let's go. I think Katerina, who's sharing the Q&A? Wow, here's Katerina. Everyone's coming online.
I think Aaron might be sharing it, or in the doc that we have. All right. Christoph, do you want to field them or should I start?
Start.
Great. So we have one here from Avi D. What is the exact role that is needed, that needs to be applied for this new feature? For some reason, I cannot use it with my current roles. Christoph, do you want to answer?
Tanner?
Or Tanner, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was figuring out how to get my mic unmuted. Yeah, so there's a couple of permissions required to get all set up with DSI. So if you were to go to the setup page, you'll see the first step is to set up Purview pay-as-you-go billing. So at present, what's required for that is both the global admin role in your organization and to be an Azure subscription owner or contributor. So after setting that up, there is one more permission you need, and it's step 2 of our review. You need a DSI admin privilege to actually turn on the Data Security Investigations pay-as-you-go meter. So global admin, subscription owner, DSI admin, and then once you have everything, you're good to go. And all 3 of those are only required for setup, I'll say. After you have everything set up, when you want to add other people in your organization to DSI, you can just give them the role of data security admin or data security investigator, data security reviewer, and then they can party with just that. Yep.
Awesome, great. I see our next question comes in from Marion. Is Purview DSI available in GCC High? If not, what is the timeline for Purview DSI to be in GCC High?
So I can take that one as well. We are currently not available in any GovClouds. So DSI behind the scenes, we are closely related and intertwined with some partner teams in Microsoft Security. One of them being Security Copilot, which has not rolled out to these GovClouds yet. So until that happens, we'll put it on the roadmap. But as now, we are not in GovCloud and won't be there anytime soon.
Great. Our next question from Uzman819. How can DSI assist with applying detective controls at data at rest retrospectively?
I can take that one. So again, I don't know the exact questions, but the use case that I share with Toyota, they were looking at data at rest, aka data in SharePoint. And that's when, we're proactively looking for passwords that was sitting in code that was shared in SharePoint. So this is definitely an area in this case where they proactively saw a risk and proactively they mitigated it.
Okay, awesome. Our next question is, thank you. Will Copilot and Microsoft Agent investigations be covered today?
So yeah, I can take that one. It's not the topic du jour, but rest assured we're all working together in Purview, and you've probably seen that we've launched 2 agents that we GA. And guess what? We're not going to stop there. We think some of those tasks that, for instance, kind of the questions that I just answered on, can you proactively apply some controls on data at rest? Maybe that is a task in the future that you can add to your DSPM agent. So definitely something we're working on. Today, the goal was really to talk about DSI, data security investigation, but I think this is a great feedback to have maybe a follow-up AMA dedicated on agents.
Yeah, and just I think that there's also the perspective of using DSI to help secure AI in the sense of investigating AI interactions. So you can use DSI to do that deep content analysis on prompts and responses and in different agentic interactions. So hopefully that answers the question.
No, but just to add to Carrie, I think a good point. I know we went super fast, but one of the screen, it was Daniel that was showing. There was actually, you could see if you watch it again, there's Copilot interactions. So anything that's text, whether it's M365 Copilot, Security Copilot, your own Copilot, your own agents, all of the above, DSI can run its AI magic against it.
On top of being multi-language as well. So
yes,
right. Daniel brings up an important point, which is that DSI can reason over like 90 plus languages, so that if you're an international company, people are working in various languages, that is built into how DSI analyzes your data. So I think that I don't see any additional questions on DSI. We have something here about Content Explorer, which I think is not quite a DSI question. I'm going to cover a few things that we've heard very popularly asked about DSI until we have a few additional questions filter in. One is, are there any licensing requirements for DSI? There aren't. You don't need to be a current Purview. Don't need to have used Purview already to use data security investigations. So it's a completely pay as you go. It's not included in E3 or E5, but those are not required. Of course, you're going to have a richer experience if you do have those licenses, because we allow you to also kick off investigations, like we mentioned, from Defender XDR, from Purview IRM, and from Purview Data Security Posture Management. So we're integrated to lots of different points in the Microsoft security stack, but you can be a new to Purview customer and start with DSI if you'd like. Another question that we hear often, how can I manage pay-as-you-go billing costs? Christoph, do you want to take that one?
Okay. Yeah, so first of all, I think you've seen the two top of mind that we heard from customers is what Tanner showed and Daniel, which is help me forecast and help me track actual usage. So they showed you both those screens that's in DSI today. One thing that's for anything pay as you go, it's all managed in Azure consumption billing. At the end of the day, it's an Azure subscription. And in Azure, because we've been in that business, there's actually extensive thing you can do around managing the costs. First of all, you can put a budget, and depending on how the actuals come in, you can set up an alerting. If it's 20% of my monthly, yearly budget I want to alert. So you can set very granular alerting on the actual versus what budgeted. The other thing that Azure actually also offers is pretend you need to do chargeback because maybe you're running an analysis on behalf of another department, I don't know, marketing or sales, and maybe you want to show them that you spend that money because you were dealing with an incident that came from that business unit. So there's definitely things you can do in Azure, and then last but not least, there's also extensive API that are offered by Azure if you want to do more fancy things with consumption billing. So definitely look at the forecast, look at the usage report that we showed, and in addition, get familiar with all the bells and whistles and all the knobs you've got in Azure consumption billing to manage the subscription. And with that, again, I'm not saying that we're not done. So definitely if you get additional ask in terms of managing your budget, managing your consumption billing, then we're all ears, and definitely send us an email.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Christoph. Another question we have, how does Purge work with existing litigation hold or retention policies? Daniel, do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, I can tackle that. So the way Purge works is, again, it respects both the litigation hold and the retention policy setup within your tenant. If you're familiar with eDiscovery Purge, we utilize a lot of the same APIs, and so the respecting those holds and those litigation policies are all respected with DSI's Purge as well. So if you're familiar with eDiscovery Purge, eDiscovery Purge has some limitations, while DSI Purge has an increased set of increase those limitations. And so not to get too into it, but we've added a whole UI experience and workflow all throughout DSI for Purge. And so if you have a chance, definitely check it out. And again, we are always open to more feedback and any use cases that you may have with Purge.
Thanks, Daniel. Another question that we've heard often is, what privacy and security controls are put in place to ensure that the right folks only have access to this highly privileged product. One of the PMs, can you answer and kind of share some of our practices there?
Sure. Yeah, I can take this one. So DSI, like I mentioned earlier, we have 3 roles for your organization to allow people to use this product. The first is our DSI admin role, right? And this is the highest privilege in the solution. You can create searches of everything, view each other's investigations, right? So maybe you wouldn't give this role to everybody in your organization. The second is our DSI investigator role, where they can create their own investigations, search through all the data throughout the tenant, but they are limited in viewing other people's investigations. So a little more limitation there. And then one that I recommend for the analyst in the organization going through these investigations, but folks who maybe should not have access to all of the data in your tenant, is the data security investigations reviewer role, right? So the reviewer role can only run these AI processes and do the work within a pre-created investigation, one created by an investigator or an administrator. And on top of all this, for further protection, we have added every single one of a ton of amount of the processes in DSI to the unified audit log, right? So you can watch the watcher, investigate the investigator whenever necessary. So any action taken in DSI, any search ran, any file looked at, etc., is all recorded in your Purview unified audit log as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Tanner. Another question we often hear is, are there any Purview solutions required to start using DSI? Ed, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you hopefully heard from everyone, DSI is a standalone product. So It doesn't require any other Purview solutions. It doesn't require any other licenses ahead of time. You can use the tool standalone. But of course, it has very powerful integrations. We mentioned a few, more coming. Insider risk management, data security posture management, Defender XDR. And there's, like I said, we're getting more customer feedback, more partner feedback as to other ones. And just a reminder, those integrations are optional. If you have those products, even better, right? Because it works with data security investigations. And just to reemphasize the point, because all the presenters showed you some of the demos, but why is that integration so important? Because it's so easy to create the DSI investigation from those tools. Think about it this way. If you had to manually do it, you'd have to copy the details of the investigation. You'd have to do the assignments. You'd have to figure out how to move the data, which in itself creates not only work, but other risks. We reduce all that friction, right? So those DSI investigations can be created automatically, natively, very efficiently, and fully audited as well. So those integrations are super important. But as I said, DSI can work completely standalone as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ed. Another question is, can I leverage the existing Security Copilot SCU with DSI? This really has to do with our business model update. So I'm going to invite Tanner to start the question, and I'm going to add on after. So Tanner?
Awesome. Yeah. So no, DSI works completely independent of SCUs. So this means that you don't have to worry about setting up, provisioning your SCU, determining how much that's going to apply to DSI, right? You actually are able to set up your data security investigation compute units within the DSI solution itself and track your usage there. So all of our AI jobs and storage processes are completely separate from existing Security Copilot SCUs.
Awesome. Yeah. So just to elaborate on what Tanner mentioned. So we launched in April 2025, and our business model originally did use SCUs for the AI compute. And after hearing customer feedback and really considering everything as we move towards GA, we decided to change the business model. So our refined business model, there are 2 meters. We still rely on a storage meter that stores your investigation data before and after AI analysis. And then for all AI compute, analysis on and actions taken on data, we are using a data security investigations compute unit. This is allowing us to go towards a really purely pay-as-you-go model that requires no pre-provisioning. And we think it's going to align more with how customers use this. Of course, there's the reactive use case. You have a data breach, a data leak, some sort of incident that needs to be investigated where you think, okay, being able to analyze data at scale is my need, and DSI is going to be what I use to do that. But we've also found the proactive use case to be really compelling. So really looking for data security risk across your tenant on a more regular basis. And the new business model allows us to really allows customers just to pay for what they use and not have any additional costs. So we're hoping that meets the needs of our customers. And again, we're really open to your feedback and hearing all the different ways you do use data security investigations. But yeah, so that's all for that question. I see another question. In addition to Microsoft 365 data locations, are there other data locations supported? Christoph, do you want to take that?
Sure. So as we mentioned, we just launched, and DSI can look at any data in Microsoft 365 Cloud, where even engage Teams, Copilot, whatever you bring in 365, emails, obviously SharePoint, we can analyze. We are looking at going beyond M365. We know you have structured or unstructured data that's in non-Microsoft Cloud, whether it's a line of business application, a database somewhere. And this is definitely where we're open for feedback of what would be the outside of M365, the next data location that potentially you want to run an investigation on. Is it structured data or unstructured data? Where is it? So this is definitely where I'm asking all of you, give us feedback, what we should prioritize. Now, with that answer, the other thing that I also mentioned is one of the beauty of DSI, because again, it can look at anything in M365. There's this great tool in M365 called sharing. So if you got data in another line of business application, whether it's a CRM or some tech files or some code repo, you can easily, if you can export that data from that other system, create a SharePoint site, upload all that data, because SharePoint can just ingest any text files, and voila, you can just point an investigation directly to that SharePoint site that you've allocated to look at that data. So while it's manual, I've definitely seen customers use DSI again to look at code, source code, and see if there's any patterns of any risk in that source code. So that's one workaround till we give you a native integration with non-M365 data source. So yeah, great questions. And a workaround is to export the data and upload it to SharePoint and run an analysis against SharePoint data location.
Awesome. Well, please continue to put your questions out there for us. I'm going to ask a few final ones. One is there a way to trial data security investigations? So right now, we don't have a broad trial available. However, you can work with your account team to request Azure credits. There are certain programs that we have where you can get credits and test out DSI in your tenant to investigate, see how it works, get familiar with the product before fully adopting it. So that is a great opportunity. So work with your account teams if you're interested in a trial. Thanks. All right. I think a last question that we have, how does AI analysis differ from existing sensitive information type classification? Christophe, do you want to tackle that one?
Yeah, so hopefully you're fairly familiar with Purview and our classification engine, and whether it's you're applying a retention policy, a sensitive label, or DLP policy, et cetera, but a lot of that is based on typically what we call sensitive info types. And sensitive info type can either, we have hundreds of them out of the box, social security, credit card, thing like that, or you can create your own. And typically it's either based on strings or regular expression. And, DSI, it's kind of like the next evolution of that. And, hopefully you will appreciate that. But looking for password is not as simple as it sounds. Or looking for fraud or bribery is not as easy as it sounds, because the person trying to do that with the malicious intent is not going to explicitly like, hey, Tanner, how do I steal millions of dollars from my company? And that's where generative AI is very powerful, because it'll, first of all, I'll reiterate again, it's multi-language. So Christophe's mixing English, French, whatever, if he's explicitly misspelling words to putting question marks or numbers, that's where generative AI can still detect those patterns. So, again, think you still, you have the sensitive info types that pretty much kind of drives all the existing stack in Purview. Think of DSI as kind of like the next level. And so it complements the existing stuff that we have. The other thing I want to add on this notion of sensitive info types, you can absolutely start an investigation and say, hey, give me all the documents that have this sensitive info types, whether it's a custom one, and you start with that, and then you run your analysis on a subset of the corpus of data. So there's definitely integration. Definitely think of the AI, we didn't talk much, but it's using things like large language models to do what we call embeddings, and that's the stuff that Dana was showing you, where you can do vector search and it can reason around things that on paper looks very different. The example, if I got a document in English with a cat, and maybe I got a word in French with the word dog, and I do use vector search, I can type the word animals. And because there's similarities, thanks to the embeddings we run on those different documents, the results will pull those two documents because cat and dogs have high correlations with the word animals. So again, this is the kind of magic that you can't do that with sensitive info types. It's deterministics. You need a pattern and a supporting element, and that's it. With generative AI, you can really take it to the next level to again help you find those needle in the haystack, that you could not detect with sensitive info types.
Excellent. Thank you, Christoph. One thing I wanted to point out is just some of the additional improvements and enhancements that we made to our AI analysis between public preview and GA, including the ability to add context to strengthen the investigation output and a few others. Daniel, did you want to cover that?
Yeah, I can take that.
Great.
So there's a notion with generative AI, and it usually goes, garbage in, garbage out. But the same thing with vice versa. So the more context, the more information you can give generative AI, the better your output. The same thing with DSI, since generative AI is at its core. So DSI, the more context that you give it for your investigation, the more accurate results. And we've seen this time and time again with customers as well as with testing, where you'll get completely different results from the AI tooling built into the solution, just based off of your context. It's more focused, it's more accurate, and sometimes it even saves time. So definitely use that contextual option within and creating your investigations within DSI or data security investigations. And do let us know if there's something else that you would like to see or any feedback that you may have.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. We also, this was mentioned earlier, but we have an integration with the Microsoft Sentinel Graph with the data risk graph, which allows investigators to view correlations between sensitive data and users and activities taken on that data. And it's been something that's generated a lot of excitement with customers. Tanner, do you want to just explain what the data risk graph is and how it's used?
Yeah, sure. So in our product today, when you're going through the overview steps, you can turn on the data lake or Sentinel graph, right? And we have a couple of entry points in DSI actually. So when you're on your AI analysis page or on your mitigation page, you actually are able to query the data risk graph, which is built off of all these different data stores of activities in your tenant, right? To look at who accessed this file, where did they access this file from, what did they do with it, et cetera. So you can really get a holistic view of all the activity that happened in these files that might have sensitive data that you are investigating.
Great. And one last thing I want to highlight is our in-product estimator. We have a lightweight estimator that lets you understand, enter a few data points around how much data you are analyzing and then what amount of analysis that you're going to run, and then receive an estimate of how much the investigation should cost. And this is a big ask we've had from the very beginning. And another is our usage reports. So in product, you can look at the precise usage of your organization of DSI and understand how much you're spending, both in terms of storage and the compute meter. So just wanted to highlight those as, cost management with pay-as-you-go solutions is a constantly on the mind of customers. And with that, I think we're just about ready to close out. So I'm going to hand it back to Christoph.
Thank you, Katerina. And again, thank you everyone for attending and asking all those great questions. Hopefully you enjoy this Ask Me Anything about Microsoft Purview Data Security Investigations. A couple things as we're wrapping up. If you're watching this live, yes, the rewatch of this portion will be made available. So visit the link below to get access to rewatch. If you are watching this recording after the fact and you are able to join the live AMA, definitely post your questions in the Microsoft Tech Community event page and add comments. And we'll continue monitoring those comments as they come. So definitely don't be shy and ask all those questions. There's no such thing as silly questions. And with that, again, I want to thank all my peers for answering questions. And I want to thank all of you one more time for attending. Happy Thursday and have a great day.